Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland. It's your favorite Bawalao. Omo doing Dile Que coming at you. Now, first things first, thank you again for subscribing, for liking, for sharing. That's one. Two, first week 2021 is about over. And we're moving into the next phase of things, right? It's a very unique week. I'm not going to talk about it, but man, what a week, right? So what I want to discuss now is going to be the help me help you. And for this video, I want to bring out an Odun called Iwori Ofun. Iwori Ofun with Obatala. And what does that mean? Well, Iwori Bofun with Obatala is there's two things that kind of resonate with me. One is the mother and one is the Egun. Right? And you're probably wondering, Iwori Ofun or Iwori Bofun, mother and Eguns, what does that mean? Well, this is what it means. On one hand, when we talk about the mother, we talk about one patake that I remember where Orula forgot his equals because he was running away from a certain land, and then all of a sudden, he had to use something, and he used a rosary that he found at a church that he was able to manipulate in order to read himself, right? In order to consult himself with Ifa, because he didn't have his equals, right? What ended up being was he just had to pray. That was part of the boy. You got to pray to your mother, but his mother's alive, and in his story, he says it doesn't make sense, and it was per his hand or through Ogun and Ifa that they were able to kind of figure out that it was not necessarily his mother that was alive, but it was the virgin spirit that lived with the rosary. And that's why it's very important at the end of the day to remember that there is energy in everything and there's spirit in everything. So with that said, we got to give thanks to our mother. But why do we give thanks to our mother? One, right? If you're a daughter, you're a son, if you have a mother of any sort, whether it's a godmother, grandmother, a biological mother, stepmother, give thanks to them. Give thanks to them, okay? Don't be so tough and so rough around the edges. Because at the end of the day, a mother's love is huge and it's important. Also, when we talk about Iwori Ofun, let's look at the reciprocal of the mother. Let's talk about the mother herself. Please understand that when we talk about Iwori Bofun, that we need to understand that at the end of the day, we need to understand the logic of motherhood. When we talk about the act of being pregnant, the act of abortion, the act of miscarriages, there's some actions there in Iwori Bofun where we got to be very careful about. But particularly, when we talk about the birth, we talk about the birth of many different things. In Iwori Bofun, we talk about women need to be careful of miscarriages and abortions. They got to be able to take care of themselves. That's one. Two, women need to be very careful because when we talk about people that fall into depression and people who get pregnant and then all of a sudden they're like, I don't want the child, and they go for an abortion, or I don't want the child, and they stress out too much, or they're not careful and they don't take care of themselves while they're pregnant, and then they miscarriage, or even by the hand of someone else, right? They miscarriage. Those things are very important and very delicate, and we need to make sure that we preserve the aspect of what a woman is and what does a woman do and what does a woman provide to the world. If you guys haven't resonated, if I haven't resonated on the fact that women are very important in this faith and we need to honor them, you have lost my I guess you're not really reading what I'm saying. I've said it many times. Women are very important, okay? And we need to honor that. The other aspect that I really want to talk about is, okay, for the women again, all right? Iwori Ofun. When we talk about Iwori Ofun, it has a lot of things that tie back into a woman because of the birth of things. So for my women out there, be very careful, right? Be very, very careful that you don't take care of yourself to the point where you're not able to have children. Make sure you're taking care of your stomach, right? When you notice we're talking a lot about the stomach area. Also, in addition to that, I want everybody to kind of make sure that they take care of their love lives to a certain extent, or more particularly going back to the woman. Be careful that you don't get involved with a man who has an inferiority complex, right? And then all of a sudden they use and abuse you, right? And then they leave you. You got to be very careful with these types of relationships, right? Because in the Wuri Ofun, the women fall into a lot of traps, and the women need to be especially careful on how things roll out. Okay, now on the flip side, if you're a guy and you have a Wuri Ofun, then you need to not be that person with the inferiority complex. You cannot be the person that's gonna, condone, right, abortions. You need to make sure if you get somebody pregnant, you're taking care of them. All those things that you do not do will bring in osolbo. And for the women, all the advice you don't listen will bring in osolbo. And that osolbo now brings me to my second part. Iwori Ofun has the power of discord, right? The power to kind of shake things up in your life, and you got to be very careful about that. Particularly, Iwori Bofun, and you'll read some stories and you'll try to see. But here's where it talks about the age of the dinosaurs, the birth of, right? And everybody understands the Stone Age. Everybody kind of understands dinosaurs were here. We have fossils. You know, these things happen, right? But then they were here and then they were not. And that's the life lesson for Woody Buffon. One day you're here and one day you're not. No different than the ovaries of a woman. They're forming, babies are forming, right? And one day they're here, one day they're not. Miscarriage or abortion. What actions led to that? But more importantly, understanding that we are very susceptible to those things. So a Woody Buffon has to be very careful for those drastic changes if they're not careful walking the right path. Walk the right path so you don't have a drastic flip. No matter what it is, be careful, okay? The other big thing that I would tell you that you can't have bad sentiments, right? You can't have negative feelings towards other people to the point where you may react to it. Because in a Wuri Ofun, okay, there is an aspect of eguns. So when someone passes away, we put a blanket over them, right? And that shroud that we talk about, sometimes we wrap them around in ancient Egypt, right? We wrap them around in cloth to preserve the bodies. All those things are an aspect of an occult called Odudua. Odudua is another divinity, but Odudua has a lot to do with the Eguns, a lot of manipulation of Eguns, the land of the Eguns. Good, bad, or indifferent. Eguns are Eguns. And when we talk about the Egungun, we also need to be very respectful of those aspects of negative influences, because we ourselves can influence with the mind. We ourselves can push some negativity towards somebody and regret the end result. Or we may get a little bit more actionable and we actually do something. Give trust to the Eguns and give thanks to them for love, prosperity, tranquility, health, blessings, those type of things. Let them open up those doors. If they choose to close other people out of you, out of your life, or somebody is kind of messing with you and you want to ask them, hey, I just want peace. Can you please do something about this person? Let them figure out what right looks like. Does that make sense? So, Iwori Buffoon, you have some challenges ahead of you, because we have to make sure that we cherish the act of birth. We want to make sure we cherish the act of Egun, because the Iwori Buffoon has a lot of energy that flows with the Egunguns. More importantly, I want to make sure that we understand that in Iwori Buffoon, we have quite a few divinities that speak, right? You have Egungun, you got Orumila, Yemaya, Ogun, Chango. Ishu is everywhere, so Ishu is always talking. But more importantly, you have Olofin. Olofin comes out in the sign because when we talk about the birth of something or the creation of something, that has to be done by the creator. That has to have a presence of the creator in there. And that's where Olofin starts to come in and manipulate this sign a little bit. So what does that mean? You have a strong presence of Olofin and you have a strong presence of Egungun. So what does that mean to me? That means that you have to find that balance. Don't be one side or the other. Value life, but value the eguns. Once you begin to master your way of thinking and changing your conduct to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, or if if you're a man, you're taking care of women, and you start to look at some of the advice given in this sign, then you're gonna find yourself in a great situation. Which at that point, this sign has a lot of luck that surrounds it, a lot of it, right? And things just magically happen, right? So this is the sign that a lot of times, if you wanted to, you can be very successful, right? As long as you apply yourself. If you were to use your head and learn a trait and apply that trait, you will be successful as long as you have that balance in your life. I promise you that. Who you need to lean on a lot here is going to be Yemaya. In this sign, Yemaya comes out and she protects the mother, right? Yemaya is very good for that. And if you're pregnant and you fall into the sign of Uri or Fung, all right, you need to do a special obra, a bow maybe, for Yemaya. And you got to go to a Babalao. We need to talk that out, okay? It's very important. Uri Bofun talks a lot about that. It also even talks about the fact that we make a soup, you know what I mean, with animals that you have to ingest for 7 days. I won't tell you what it is because I don't want to get into the ingredients of the secrets, but go talk to another Bawalao, because what that does is, for women who've had, if you're a Woody Buffoon, and even if you are not a Woody Buffoon and you've had abortions or abortions primarily, this type of elixir, right, is what's going to start to repair some of those damages that you've caused. And it gets you back in line with Yemaya so she can continue to bless you, because one day maybe you want to have a child and maybe you don't. Maybe you want to stay healthy. But there's different reasons why that elixir is important. And then at the end of the day, please, 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 all right, in this sign, when I talk about women again, please respect the woman, right? Whether it's your mom or your grandmother, because here's where children begin to blame their parents for things that have happened in the past, right? And children can sometimes be very rude and unforgiving, even when they're older. And we gotta make sure that if you are that child and you are Woody Buffoon, you cannot do that. Okay, you cannot do that. And there's different stories about that, and different patakis. All right, so I don't want to get too much into it. I think I said a lot about this sign. This is a great sign. All right, a Woody Buffoon, a Woody Tu Buffoon. Beautiful sign, okay? So with that said, Iburu, Iboya, Bucheche, like, subscribe, share. I hope this came out well. For this particular sign, it was for Obatala, no more Obatala. And I just told you, this sign has two angles. One with Olofin, the creator, and one with the Egungun, which is the dead. Right? For Obatala specifically, it's even more important for you because your balance is on this side. And if you're not balanced on this side, you're going to quickly fall on this side. Okay? Because you are the Obatala, Omo Obatala, the man of the white cloth, right? And when you say the man of the white cloth, I just told you that the cloths that we use to cover bodies that have passed away is no different but a representation of Obatala. Think about it for a second, okay? So cherish that, okay? It's even more important for you. But with that said, all right, now I'm truly done. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland, like, share, boom. Shoot me an email, laregladeifa@gmail.com, la.regla.de.ifa@gmail.com. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche.